You're watching In the Office. My name is Bray. Let's do some more, quote, learning. Today for episode number 42, I want to cover this idea about how labels are useful. In our culture today, we have seemed to come to a place where we're very reluctant to use labels. Dictionary.com, Merriam-Webster's dictionary, also says that labels are used to help understand what something is. They more or less classify and clarify what things are to us. But if you're to look at some of these more emergent dictionaries that you can find on Google, and by the way, some of them are at the very top, you will see that they've taken the definition of the word labels and made it out to be something completely different. Instead of it being something that helps you to understand what something is, now a label is something that is absolutely misrepresenting someone or something. They've taken the definition, they flipped it upside down, and now they want you to believe that being able to label something is a negative thing. Now, culture and society are far too complex to put everybody into one category. So there are people on different sides of this issue. Let me try to explain just a little bit today. There are people that want to be able to be ambiguous when it comes to getting labeled, because they don't want people to be able to hold them to account on the views that they have, because maybe those views are not acceptable in the line of work or in the positions that they're in. Sometimes you see this when we have like cabinet picks or administration picks that come before the House for questioning, and maybe it'll be a person who's supposed to be over finance, and they have quotes in their past where they want to go to a more communistic system, and you're like, my goodness, well, you said this, and they say, oh, no, I'm not that, and they don't want to be labeled as such because it would not help them in their position. At the same time, you have people in the culture that hyperfixate on labels. People that want you to know their pronouns. My wife has worked for companies in the past where everybody at the bottom of their email had their pronouns. She was even in an interaction a couple days ago where she misgendered somebody, and she told me I just motored right on through the conversation because, again, we have certain principles that we believe about things. That was okay. Some people are very, very ambiguous, and they don't want to be able to be, quote unquote, put in a corner, or they don't want to be jello that's nailed to the wall. They want to be ambiguous. And then some people will hyperfixate and want you to know exactly with the greatest care and meticulous nature, this is my way of labeling myself. I tend to be in the middle, but towards knowing exactly who I am. I think it's good for us to know the labels that more or less represent us. First of all, I'm a Christian. I believe in the Bible. And then I am a conservative. I'm a family man. I mean, these labels are not things that I run away from. These are labels that I embrace because they are who I am. They are the majority collection of my ideas. If you wanted to understand me, then you would need to start with Christian, conservative, family person. I mean, those will more or less figure out for yourself who I am. In this culture, we take people that would have had honorable labels and we diminish them. And I think that it's unhelpful to the masses. So many women have conflicts just like men do, but they're different. Men go through midlife crises because maybe they haven't hit their first or second big break, knowing that they're supposed to hit about 3 in their lifetime. And if they hadn't hit that first one, or they hit one and then they drop back, or they hit 2 or 3 in a row and then drop back, or whatever it is, men have a certain type of crisis in their life. Women have a certain type of crisis in their life. And I want to highlight a label crisis for females that I saw when I was in school. So I've now been out of school about as long as I was in grade school. And so I've been able to re-educate myself, if you will. And I've enjoyed the process tremendously. Thankfully, I was given some of the tools through the school system to be able to learn. Not all, but some of them. When I was graduating in a country school, I mean, now we're in a little metro area, and this is kind of the area is a little bit better, suburb. But there's a lot of farmers, there's a lot of country folk. One of the girls that I graduated with, she said, when they asked her what she was going to do after graduation, everybody else is saying, I'm going to college, I'm joining the military, I got a job. When she said, I'm going to be a stay-at-home mom, I literally saw teachers and other adults and students scorn and scoff at the prospect that this young lady was going to be a stay-at-home mom. Now, with all the science that one can muster, and with all the wisdom that people can muster, that is an ideal circumstance. My wife, now that we've had 3 children, longed to wish she could have had that over again. And me knowing what I know now, I would have oriented and moved heaven and earth for her to have that opportunity again. It's come and it's gone. But I wish that she could have, and she wishes that she could have. And so there's this young lady up against all the powers that be that wants to be, a Sam, a stay-at-home mom. She wants to be this kind of a provider and a caregiver, and everyone looks at her with the greatest amount of shame, not realizing that some of the greatest people that have made the greatest impact on the planet came because there was a mother who was willing to forego and take those years of formation and nurture and pour it into someone who could then go and do something. I have the greatest amount of respect for stay-at-home moms. My mother was a stay-at-home mom, 8 kids plus raising some of her grandkids that also call her mom. My heart goes out. I'm so thankful. There's not much more I can say on that without sounding redundant, how thankful that I am. But those labels in our culture, one of the greatest jobs that could ever exist, being a mother, can get reduced and scrutinized in one of the last places in America you think that it would be scrutinized, in Alabama, in the South, in the country, but yet it gets done that way. Labels are a useful tool if you've done your due diligence. If you do your due diligence and you figure out that somebody is something or trending that way and you put that label on them, that is okay. But I don't always say that you should share that information publicly. It's very often will be the case that you will get misunderstood for all of the due diligence that you've done because many other people haven't done it. I remember when I first got into the Christian education and into ministry, I noticed there were some teachers that gave me pause. And if 5 and 10 years ago, I would have said, these people are making me a little bit nervous, people would have laughed me out of the room and they would have told me that I didn't know what I was talking about. But now that I have kept, keeping my eye on these people, now we can see that some of them are on the teetering edge of leaving the faith. And many of them are so far from the orthodoxy that they used to hold that it's very concerning. And now I put a label on these people. I put them in the questionable category. To tell everybody that I put them in the questionable category may cause many people to misunderstand me because they haven't done all the legwork that I've done. But maybe you have done the legwork on some people in your life that you allow to influence you, and you put them in the questionable category or you put them on the bench. That is a legitimate thing to do. If me and you work together and I stole your lunch one day, you may be thinking that I'm a thief. But if you find out a week later I stole your lunch again, you're pretty sure that I'm a thief. But after I've done it a handful of times, there's no doubt in your mind that I'm a thief and you'll call me a thief. So with all of these other people that mismanage intelligence, that mismanage information, that mismanage influence, maybe we can put some labels on them as well that help for us and our children and for those that we love and are under our care, to help them to navigate these people because maybe they're not good for them. And that's not a bad thing. Knowing exactly who we are and knowing who the people are around us, it's incumbent upon us. We must do the due diligence. There was a person in my family sphere who gave me the heebie-jeebies. And that person ended up being every bit of what we thought they were. And they got pushed out. because there's too many children around for this person of this nature to be close to these children. And what am I supposed to do? Not label them? Not have my suspicions? Not be curious? No, we're not going to create victims because we sit on our hands. We're going to go to the opposite. We're going to be a little more proactive in our approach. What I get is the flavor of the day is people want to be burned a few times before they're willing to push back from something. I don't like to be burned. When I was a 4-year-old child, I put my hand on a hot eye and I didn't enjoy it. It wasn't fun, and I don't like to do that. I'm not excited about punishing myself or other people. There's just so many humans out here to interact with that I don't have to accept the wisdom and the knowledge of some people that I have since studied and put a label on them that they're questionable. Can they redeem themselves? Sure. Do they even know that they're on the bench with me or that they're questionable with me? Probably not. So they're not working to redeem themselves with me. And honestly, I'm not working to redeem their position with me either. There's enough good people out there. I'll find another source for said topic. Don't allow people to put you in this box where you can't label people for your protection and for your understanding. Labeling is not inherently sinful. And if you do it well and you do it biblically, then you're going to protect yourself. Look, everybody needs Jesus and we want everybody to be saved. But some people get put in categories because you have an obligation to protect you and your own. I want you to do an audit of the 20 people that are closest to you and around you. And that audit would be to label them in the ways that you see them. This is just an exercise. Don't be overly critical. But if you know that somebody has a certain characteristic, figure out what you would call that and know and file that away. Some people have positive labels in my life. They're generous. They're an encourager. They're good with their time management. They're generous with their time. They're helpful. They're resourceful. They're frugal. I like to put positive categories on a lot of people. So you be putting positive labels on people, and then if there's someone in your life that, is a little bit concerning, figure out exactly what label it is with your due diligence and place it on them. And if you need to share that with somebody else, that is okay too. But make sure that you share it with somebody that can handle that information and won't look at you like a cow at a new gate because they simply haven't done their due diligence. A long time ago, there was a quote that was told to me, and it really stuck with me. And it was that some of the most important information that's out there is not usually received well by others. It's like, hey, bridge out ahead. I've been down this road a million times. The bridge is fine. It's there. Well, listen, sometimes you gather information that's very important and you want to share it. That's all I'm saying. Labels, they're not a bad thing. They're a useful tool. Don't allow people to render your toolbox with less tools just because they want to basically set the game up to benefit them. You get to use those tools too because God's gave them to you. You be thinking on these things, and we will see you next time.